Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Rebecca, and here's her story. And Rebecca's written in before. She is adopted. Her problem is her adoptive mother, and she's had some contact with her natural parents, her birth parents as well. Hi, Ollie. I went to visit my birth parents in a different country again because I felt in the mood of a change of pace. I had nowhere to stay, so I stayed by my adoptive mother's friend who had a furnished basement for any guests who want to stay. She also is open to having me. She's also open to having me, and I don't have to pay for a hotel, and she often bakes cakes and gives people coffee. One room has a mini kitchen, and she stocks it with the basics. The other room, which I stayed in because it was available, was connected to her house through a door leading upstairs, and I had to go through her front door to enter and leave. She told me I should help myself to anything in the fridge, and when I stayed there with my parents when I still lived at home. My mother made herself comfortable and ate, and they talked in that kitchen. So I felt okay taking and making myself breakfast and lunch when I had nowhere to go. I had an emotional roller coaster of a time there, meeting my birth parents and trying to get in touch with my half-sister, who I haven't spoken to in half a year, but nothing outright mean causing it. She seemed happy to hear I was in town, but never got around to having time to meet due to both of our baby schedules and her being in the last term pregnancy. So some days I would just be walking around town by myself trying to find things to occupy my racing mind with. Meeting my birth parents felt weird to my subconscious feelings of pain around losing them and their own pain and fear of getting too close. I felt high for doing something that was so forbidden according to how I was raised, that I would not care about my birth parents. When I was around the hostess I was staying at, she was always wrapped up making sure I had dinner and food, and I felt weird. She even said she would stay home for me over the weekend if I did not find a meal to eat, because we need to eat 2 meals with others on Sabbath and cannot travel by car to get anywhere. It is forbidden to use electricity on this day. And yeah, Rebecca is, I think I've discussed this before, she's Orthodox Jewish. I had no choice but to eat with them for one meal because I was eating by an old friend for one of my meals. They were okay with it, but I had a bad feeling about it. I joined them, and they sat stoically by the table, not even talking to one another. The hostess put all her focus on my baby, and I felt nervous. I had the familiar feeling of my mother trying to run from her troubles and control my life, and that I was really only a pawn for their entertainment. I was already emotional as it's over my confusion of being in my new life with my real parents. I tried to keep to myself, but being the people pleaser I am, I answered her questions with her watchful eyes and felt like I had to tell her all my feelings. I apologized for not being in the mood to talk during the week. She said the reunions were very overwhelming and that I felt she wouldn't understand. She said she understood that it was okay. I felt the need to explain how I do not force my daughter to eat and sit in a high chair, because I feel that by letting her choose what she wants, she will feel more confident. You don't. I mean, you're a mom. You can raise your daughter. To me, the kids got to understand where to eat their food. Otherwise, you're going to find it everywhere. That's how you get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your VCR. Well, when you had VCRs, but you get my point. And whatever electronics or things, trust me with the food here. Trust me. You want to train your daughter. I mean, you do what you want. I mean, I'm not telling you how to raise her, but be careful with that, because that's how you find sandwiches in your VCR and stuff. I said how I sleep with her and never let her cry it out like other parents do because I feel it's abusive for babies not to be answered when they need or help, when they need help or emotional support. She smiled and seemed highly interested and said she wished all her parents did it this way. You can't do that, Rebecca. Listen, I also private do have Skype with Rebecca. You can't do that, Rebecca, because she's going to become uncontrollable without you. It does sound terrible to let them cry it out, but they gotta learn to cry. They will stop crying, and this is only going to take a toll on you. It's going to prevent you from having a life outside your children. That's a very with your kind of fragile way of thinking, based on your mother, when you were adopted and what you deal with your mother, not your birth mother, your mother. Okay, this isn't good. This isn't good. She has to become a little more. She has to become independent. You got to set some rules for her. You can't be afraid, to discipline, because you're gonna somehow pass some sort of narcissistic abuse to her. You can't. I felt looked down on because I was adopted and not as diplomatic as them. Her sister-in-law came over and was wearing the usual fancy clothes and made up face. And I was different because I wore a scarf to cover my hair instead of a wig. And I did not wear makeup. She barely glanced at me, and I only recognized me when I told her. I am the adopted daughter, and I told her my mother's name. Listen, Rebecca, you don't have to spill your guts here. You're walking around all the time like you're on trial for something, like you're trying to excuse yourself from it. I don't know how. I mean, I've been talking to you for a while, and this worries me because I have been talking to you for a while. And you're still internalizing and you're still doing this stuff where you're explaining yourself and you're overthinking yourself and you got so much, you're just all anxiety all the time. And fixating on your daughter like this to the point where she can't cry and you're sleeping with her, that's your anxiety kicking in of your fear of being labeled a bad mother. You being adopted has nothing to do with this. I've told you 1,000,000 times you're a good mom. Then she nodded. I felt like dirt. I listened to their chit-chat about who was getting married. And I saw these people base their life upon knowing the latest gossip and did not discuss their true feelings ever, even though they were sister-in-laws. I'll be honest with you. That's how families sometimes interact. Gossip. That's what they do around the table. Gossip. Like hens. Gossip. It's not necessarily sounding all that narcissistic yet. I think you're just in such a paranoid state from your mother and that anxiety of being adopted. You're just over-explaining yourself all the time. You're trying to build your value to people, to show people how valuable, what a good mom you are and what a good person you are. You're killing yourself here. And you're a young girl. Too young for this level of stress in your life. I was shocked at the... Shit. Goddamn. Thing just moved. I was shocked at the about face my hostess made, all empathetic and understanding to me, and then pretending I was non-existent to cater to this next person. It seemed exhausting. Is that what happened? You know, when somebody doesn't get their way, it's... See, I don't know if you're overreading this or not. I don't. Because you're going in there in such a state of mind that you're feeling like you have to constantly explain yourself. And this is an overly stressful situation because you're going to another country around your birth mother who you're not all that familiar with. Okay? You got other stress factors that you're carrying along with you where, you know, your need to explain yourself, and, you know, you may be misreading her. I could be wrong, but you could be misreading her. I interrupted and thanked her for listening to my feelings because it meant she was open-minded. She smiled pleasantly at me, and I decided to go on. I said most people in our community do not recognize how much our children need us and how they get affected when we act all religious but ignore their pain. I explained that nobody ever noticed when I was in pain because I was adopted, and I constantly felt like a second-class citizen because of it. Look. You're trying to, and we've talked about this before, you're trying to change things that have been social norms within Orthodox Judaism for centuries. For centuries. I mean, this is not uncommon behavior. And I'm not even saying it's narcissistic or bad. Okay? This is just a lot how the culture is. I mean, they have a very hard time. Yeah, they're very, very religious, but their religion doesn't always equate to their actions. It's like that in most religions anyway. So you're trying to put, I think you're like trying to put like a weighting, a value to every emotion and a value to, and compare it to some kind of maybe scripture. You can't do that because, look, this isn't a religious issue you're having, Rebecca. Okay, this is a confidence issue of where you came from and who you are. I don't think whether you were Jewish or not, you would still have this issue. So you having the issue within the community, a community that's very secretive anyway about not airing your dirty laundry and keeping it kind of within the faith. You know, this is a hard thing to get past narcissistic abuse. It's a hard thing to deal with in your situation. They both stared at me, and the guest said that she didn't think that of me at all. I said that was because I was confident, but if I wouldn't talk, she would think that. She denied it. Yeah, you got to be careful to tell people, listen, Rebecca, you got to be careful to tell people what they would do. You know, especially a guest like you never met. Like, well, you only did this because I did this, or you didn't do this because I didn't do. You don't know that. You don't know that. This is a very, very sensitive topic for you. You thinking about it more than they do, I think. I told them that I get the feeling that the two of them think that they have to fit into a certain mold and cannot feel good about themselves otherwise. They got defensive, and my hostess even told me that her sister-in-law is a therapist, so she understands. I said, but how come they look at people who are adopted as less worthy then? How come because I'm not wearing the latest fashion they look at me differently? That's just women. That's just women sometimes. Women are constantly competing with women. Whether they're Jews or Christians or Muslims, women compete with women. Okay? It's just the way sometimes it's just human nature. It's not necessarily, because I'm adopted, it's not necessarily that reason. It could be, it could have something to do with it. They protested that they did not and saw everyone as equals. I said the only way we can all get along is to stop looking at people not in our status as different and lower. We all have struggles. Why can't we be open to it? I said our religion is not about living like a robot, but actually loving others and enjoying the lifestyle we have. They enthused and said I was an inspiring speaker, which I told you. I told you because you have all these issues of how you want the religion to change, that you could be the new Moses. And Rebecca's been trying to. I'm not going to say she doesn't have issues with. She loves her religion, but the tactics, the way some of the things are, the norms where they talk about loving each other and they treat outsiders bad and they treat some. This is the stuff she's trying to change. Okay? Feelings on transgenders and stuff like that. These are things she has opinions about that she wants to try to change. And I told you this. I told you this is about you becoming the new Moses. I literally told you that. I think it was in a private video. I said that was not the point. It is the point. It is the point. You are an inspiring. I told you you're a smart girl. You got something. You gotta centralize it. I said that was not the point. I was just a normal person like them who just learned that I can be myself and not live in fear of not fitting in because I was adopted and had pain. They said, wow, God gave you a challenge and you overcame it, but we are just ordinary people. I said, why does one have to be adopted to realize this, though? I don't think it's necessarily adopted. It's a challenge. Some people don't try to overcome their challenges. It's not necessarily fixating on whether you're adopted or not. It's fixating on whether or not people choose to try to overcome their challenges. You have. They may not have. Everybody has some sort of challenge, don't they? Why can't you embrace what you have now? They all stared at me, and like a child, the guest asked, how? I said, by loving your good and understanding your challenges. They said, we try, and the conversation ended, and they left. I was shaking and felt exposed and was going out to my room, but I still felt angry and misunderstood, and they were chatting outside. I went out and wanted to say more, but some others passed by, and they all joked with them about the good food they had by a party, and why didn't they bring some? I did not understand the way they lived, seeming so religious but also so childish. Because people are imperfect. It's still people following a religion, and people are going to be imperfect. And I'm the last person that wants to get into scripture and all that. But I at least understand, the basic tenets of religion is people are imperfect, but if you have faith in your religion, things are going to work out, in a nutshell. But we're meant to be imperfect. I mean, you can't expect people to be perfect either. I told them that I still felt unheard and that they were nice people, so why so disconnected from the lower class and the drug-addicted youth? They said they had their own challenges, and I said I wanted to hear what. Because I grew up religious and never felt love because I had to hide my feelings of being adopted. They said I am very strong and oversensitive, and that was their only answer. I told them they can do what I did too and feel happy in life. They were shocked and thanked me. I saw how little they valued themselves. The lady hugged me and I burst into tears from all my past feelings of alienation from grown-ups like her as a kid. I went inside and my hostess talked to me. She told me I was going through a lot because of my birth family reunion, but that I don't need to have open talks with everyone. Yeah. And this is part of it. They want to make you be quiet. This is part of like, sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug. This is part of the hypocrisy in your religion that you're talking about. And this has got to be the most frustrating because it's a form of gaslighting. It is gaslighting. Gaslighting out of fear, gaslighting out of want to maintain the status quo. Nobody ever said being Moses is easy. He walked the desert for 40 years. What, 40 years? I don't think that was easy. I don't think that was a leisurely stroll, no? She worried about me because she didn't want me to get hurt. She said that she also couldn't expect things from some people, and she learned to accept it. Otherwise, you get hurt. I told her it was not good. I wondered if she was referring to her husband. I got an odd vibe there. She was a tough person, always giving to others materially, but I felt like she was empty inside. She told me she loved having guests and I was welcome. She tore up a bit when talking about the pain I have from childhood not being heard. She related and said her mother never spoke out about emotions and she went through the war. She told me she worried about how others saw her all the time too, and I felt a kinship with her. But she lectured me about keeping to myself and finding people my type. She thanked me and held my hand emotionally. But then I felt like it was all over when she briskly spoke about their schedule in the morning. Right, because she wants to move on. Sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug, sweep it under the rug. And this is the problem in your religion. A lot of religions, but in yours, sweep it under the rug. Don't talk about it. Shh, 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 shh. Just pray. I know that's what's frustrating you. It is hard work to change that type of mentality, but I just had an idea that I'll get into at the end here because I could see this is almost over for you. And I just realized what you need to do. What I think you need to do. It felt good to get it out, and the rest of my stay was more distant and shallow. I got the feeling that I made them uncomfortable with my emotional expressiveness, but they acted kind. So I felt odd, and I did not open up much. My birth father was loving to me, and we went out, and he poured out how hard it was for him and my mother to lose us. He said they did not think they had a good house to raise us. There was a lot up in the air, but I felt his care and love was genuine. My birth mom too, even though she was much less expressive. It was hard to leave each time, and now I feel like part of me is broken because I left to go home. I'm waiting till I can see them again. I am still feeling torn between lives of belonging to neither. My half-sister never ended up speaking to me, my half-sister never ended speaking to me, and my other birth siblings want nothing to do with me. They don't understand why I want to see our biological parents at all. Their mottos are, if it's broken, why try to fix it? What do you think about the hostess? Was I stupid to open up? I now know I was vicariously trying to gain love from my adopted mother through her. I still don't know where I belong, Rebecca. Well, I told you this is where this is all coming from, this anxiety, this need to prove yourself that you're worthy, you're worthy, you're worthy. Rebecca, you told me your birth mother has other problems mentally in the past, so your father is involved, your birth mother's doing the best she can based on what it is what we need to figure out is how does Rebecca become happy? You want changes within your religion. You want this kind of hypocrisy to be cleared up. You want an openness to to people with addictions and abuses and stuff like that, to have not have their back turned on them. Well, it's got to start with someone brave enough to speak out, and brave enough to speak out bigger than on a bigger platform, than just groups of people at their house like that. And I know I had two thoughts. If the one person in that group's daughter was a therapist, why can't you become a therapist? Why can't you become a therapist and help with helping your own people? I mean, this could be your whole focus. I mean, this could be what gets you really, really on track. Why can't you become a therapist and start helping people in your own community? Become a speaker on the matter. Start a YouTube channel where you're opening up to other Orthodox Jews who have the same thinking. Because when you're just traveling from community to community the way you're doing it, you have very limited outreach. And your problem is you need the feedback of people who agree with you, so you don't think you're crazy. Like, oh my God, that's why you're on Narc. That's why you're on my channel, because people have validated your stories and understand where you're coming from. And you need that within your own community. The only way you're going to get it is if there's somebody within your community strong enough to be Moses and take the lead. Why not you? Why not you? I think I might have even mentioned this to you in one of those private videos. You should become a therapist. You should specialize in helping your own people, because this is something you want to fix and you care about. And it would probably help you understand yourself and be able to accept yourself and stop trying to overcompensate for everything because you're adopted. You're trying to get through to a culture whose natural inclination is to sweep it all under the rug and act like it doesn't happen. Cast them out, never talking to them again. You want to change that? That's hard work. Breaking through to narcissism is hard work. Making changes in a religion that has been on this is the original religion. Right? Even my leader, Jesus, he's king of the Jews. So you're trying to change things and customs that go back centuries. That's never going to be easy. And you're always going to have self-doubt because you're carrying around a lot of nonsense of your own from your mother. Because you got a shitty deal in who adopted you. I mean, that's the shitty part of it. If you felt genuine love from your birth mother, you wouldn't be dealing with any of this. Your husband loves you very much as well. So you got to learn to start accepting love from the people who are giving it to you. And again, don't overcompensate with your daughter. She can cry it out. She can eat in a high chair. Otherwise, you're going to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your VCR or DVR or something important. So, I hope that helps. And because for such a young girl, you're a smart girl. I'm very impressed when I do talk to you. You're a sharp kid, and she's young. She's in her early 20s. This is a young girl. Okay, and taking on all this anxiety and responsibility, trying to work out her being adopted with her birth parents and all of this, and trying to change the culture within her own religion. Understand what you're doing in regards to narcissism is hard work. And you're not going to convince people like that. Not if they're not looking to be convinced. That's for damn sure. It's real hard to lead people who don't want to be, who are trying not to be led. Remember that. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution and story, Rebecca. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you all, this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance.